I will be talking about some early childhood care and education efforts that we are going to be supporting at the legislative session this year. The first one, our big one, is kind of a bookend to the 100% Kids Covered campaign that Jesse opened up talking about, is a full day kindergarten expansion bill that will be sponsored by Representative Steve Waldrop from the Weber County area. This is the culmination of several years of work so far by a number of different groups, not just Voices for Utah Children, but United Way of Salt Lake, Utah PTA, our great partners at the Utah State Board of Education. This legislation is not numbered yet, but the goal will be to fund full day kindergarten over the course of 3 years in the districts and charter schools that want to offer it for the parents who want their children to participate. So the 3-year timeline will give school districts and charter schools time to figure out the logistics of facility space and available teachers and all that stuff. And in the meantime, slowly building this into our state budget so that kindergarten can be funded the same way every other important grade is funded in our K through 12 system. If you want to learn more, I highly encourage you to go to the Utah Full Day Kindergarten Now Coalition's website that is displayed right here. You can sign up for more information, and you can even record a little video talking about why you personally support full day kindergarten expansion so that we can really meet the needs of Utah families that want to participate, and so that parents have a real choice in the kind of kindergarten programming that their children can enroll in. In addition, we're supporting several childcare bills that are aimed at bigger systemic improvements to Utah's very beleaguered childcare system at the moment. There are some smaller administrative changes and then some bigger efforts to improve access to childcare and raise the profile of the childcare crisis that parents are facing right now in Utah. So HB 15 is from Representative Susan Pulsifer, who has worked with a variety of stakeholders for 6 months now, more than 6 months now, to develop this bill. It has a number of different provisions in it, most of which are incentives to have folks include childcare development in other community development projects, such as community reinvestment projects and also transit-oriented development. There's also a cool grant program that will incentivize businesses, private and also public agencies like school districts and county agencies to offer childcare to their employees. So form some collaborative relationships between childcare providers and employers to meet the needs of working parents. There's also a provision in there that will assert that the state is responsible for childcare licensing, and that it is not the realm of cities and counties to make rules about childcare licensing, such as determining how many children can be in a single location with one adult, and other local red tape that restricts the amount of childcare access our current providers are able to give to the families that they serve. So that's going to be a big one. We're very supportive. The next one that we are going to be supportive is not yet numbered, but Representative Ashley Matthews, who is a great champion of childcare reform during the last legislative session, despite being a very new legislator, will be pushing legislation to create efficiencies in how childcare providers are paid for children who receive federal childcare subsidies through the state. So current practice before COVID is sort of antiquated, inefficient, and creates additional red tape and bureaucracy for childcare providers who serve low-income children who receive childcare subsidies. So this would post-COVID and going forward ensure that the government pays subsidies in the same way that private pay families pay subsidies to ensure stability and honest treatment of childcare providers who are serving low-income children and their families. And I don't want to forget, Representative Matthews is also going to be asking for a cost of care study from the legislature that will discuss not just the market rate of childcare, how much people are currently paying for childcare in different areas of the state, which we all know is pretty exorbitant for a lot of low and middle income families, but the true cost of providing childcare, which, believe it or not, is even higher than the current costs that families are paying. This is really important for our state leaders to understand how much of the childcare system is being subsidized by the providers through making very slim margins, undercharging, not being able to pay themselves a living wage. So this is going to be very important going forward as we pursue bigger and more dramatic reforms, which is really what our childcare system needs. Doing a little bit here and a little bit there is not going to provide the relief that Utah families need and the childcare of high quality that all Utah kids deserve to have access to. So for that bold reform needed in the future, we need to have a better understanding of what the true expenses are in the provision of high quality childcare. And finally, a nice bill from Representative Steve Handy, who has been working on this for a couple of years to ensure safe lead levels in school and childcare centers, and also to provide funding to help those locations actually do the mitigation necessary to meet those safety requirements. I also love this bill because it puts school and childcare centers right together. And as I often say, school is childcare, childcare is school. Really, children need to be safe and healthy and have a positive growing learning experience in all those environments without so much distinction going forward. And just a quick mention too, this may or may not be relevant during the legislative session, but while we're doing some of these small fixes at the state level, there are some opportunities being presented by Congress, or at least they're being discussed by Congress, that could really help incentivize childcare reform in Utah, coupled with greater access for preschool opportunities for parents of 3 and 4-year-old children. So this would be a pretty big shift in how we approach these early learning opportunities, but really also provides the opportunity for the kind of dramatic overhaul we need for our childcare system so that it works much better for parents, for the children who are in care, and for the child care professionals who provide that care to those children day in and day out and have been doing it throughout the entire pandemic. So that will be happening parallel to what's happening at our state legislative session, and that may come up in conversations with our legislators. If you are interested in any of these topics, if you are a parent with children who is really inspired to work for early care and education reform, if you're a child care provider or a preschool teacher or just an early education and child care policy nerd like myself, we are hosting a training, an advocacy training on Saturday, January 22nd. It will have an in-person component up at the state capitol, and it will have an online component for people who prefer not to join in person or who can't join in person because they're working or providing childcare at that time. So you can go to our website at utahchildren.org, and there's information on how to register for that advocacy training there.